Scout's Honor, Avi. Back in 1946, when I was 9, I worried that I wasn't tough enough. That's why I became a Boy Scout. Scouting, I thought, would make a man of me. It didn't take long to reach tenderfoot rank. You got that for joining. To move up to second class, however, you had to meet 3 requirements. Scout spirit and Scout participation had been cinchy. The third requirement, Scout craft, meant I had to go on an overnight hike in the country. In other words, I had to leave Brooklyn on my own for the first time in my life. Since I grew up in Brooklyn in the 1940s, the only grass I knew was in Ebbets Field, where the Dodgers played. Otherwise, my world was made of slate pavements, streets of asphalt or cobblestone, and skies full of tall buildings. The only thing country was a puny pin oak tree at our curb, which was noticed mostly by dogs. I asked Scoutmaster Brinkman where I could find some country. Now, whenever I saw Mr. Brinkman, who was a church pastor, he was dressed either in church black or Scout khaki. When he wore black, he'd warn us against hellfire. When he wore khaki, he'd teach us how to build fires. Country, Scoutmaster Brinkman said in answer to my question, is anywhere that has lots of trees and is not in the city. Many boys camp in the Palisades. Where's that? Just north of the city. It's a park in Jersey. Isn't that a zillion miles from here? Take the subway to the George Washington Bridge, then hike across. I thought for a moment, then asked, how do I prove I went? Mr. Brinkman looked deeply shocked. You wouldn't lie, would you? What about Scout's Honor? Yes, sir, I replied meekly. My 2 best friends were Philip Hosfender, whom we nicknamed Horse, and Richard Mocht, called Max, because we were not great spellers. They were also scouts, tenderfoots like me. Horse was a skinny little kid, about half my size, whose way of arguing was to ball up his fist and say, "Are you saying?" in a threatening tone. Max was on the pudgy side, but he could talk his way out of a locked room. More importantly, he always seemed to have pocket money, which gave his talk real power. I wasn't sure why, but being best friends meant we were rivals too. One of the reasons for my wanting to be tougher was a feeling that Horse was a lot tougher than I was, and that Max was a little tougher. I'm going camping in the Palisades next weekend, I casually informed them. How come? Max challenged. Scout craft, I replied. Oh, that, Horse said with a shrug. Look, I said, I don't know about you, but I don't intend to be a tenderfoot all my life. Anyway, doing stuff in the city is for sissies. Scouting is real camping. Besides, I like roughing it. You saying I don't? Horse snapped. I'm not saying nothing, I said. They considered my idea. Finally, Horse said, yeah, well, I was going to do that, but I didn't think you guys were ready for it. I've been ready for years, Max protested. Then we're going, right? I said. They looked around at me. If you can do it, I can do it, Max said. Yeah, Horse said thoughtfully. The way they agreed made me nervous. Now I really was going to have to be tough. We informed our folks that we were going camping overnight, which was true, and that the Scoutmaster was going with us, which was a lie. We did remember what Mr. Brinkman said about honesty, but we were baseball fans too, and since we were prepared to follow Scout law, being loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent, we figured a 900 batting average was not bad. So Saturday morning, we met at the High Street subway station. I got there first. Stuffed in my dad's Army surplus knapsack was a blanket, a pillow, and a paper bag with 3 white bread peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That is lunch, supper, and Sunday breakfast. My pockets were full of stick matches. I had an old flashlight, and since I lived by the Scout motto, be prepared, I had brought along an umbrella. Finally, being a serious reader, I had the latest Marvel Family comics. Horse arrived next, his arms barely managing to hold on to a mattress that seemed twice his size. As for food, he had 4 cans of beans jammed into his pockets. Max came last. He was lugging a new knapsack that contained a cast-iron frying pan, a packet of hot dogs, and a box of saltine crackers, plus 2 bottles. One bottle was mustard, the other celery soda. He also had a bag of Tootsie Rolls and a shiny hatchet to build a lean-to, he explained. Max's prized possession, however, was an official Scout compass. It's really swell, he told us. You can't ever get lost with it. Got it at the Scout store. I hate that place, Horse informed us. It's all new, nothing real. This compass is real, Max retorted. Points north all the time. You can get cheaper ones, but they point all different directions. What's so great about the north, Horse said. That's always the way to go, Max insisted. Says who? I demanded. Mr. Brakeman, dummy, Horse cried. Anyway, there's always an arrow on maps pointing the way north. Cowboys live out west, I reminded them. They didn't care. On the subway platform, we realized we did not know which station we were heading for. To find out, we studied the system map, which looked like a noodle factory hit by a bomb. The place we wanted to go, north, was at the top of the map. So I had to hoist Horse onto my shoulders for a closer look. Since he refused to let go of his mattress or the tin cans in his pockets, it wasn't easy. I asked him, in a kindly fashion, to put the mattress down. No sooner did he find the station, 168th Street, than our train arrived. We rushed on, only to have Horse scream, "My mattress!" He had left it on the platform. Just before the doors shut, he and I leaped off. Max, however, remained on the train. Helplessly, we watched as his horror-stricken face slid away from us. "Wait at the next station," I bellowed. "Don't move!" The next train took forever to come. Then it took even longer to get to the next stop. There was Max. All around him, like fake snow in a glass ball, were crumbs. He'd been so nervous, he had eaten all his crackers. "Didn't that make you thirsty?" I drank my soda. I noticed streaks down his cheeks. Horse noticed them too. "You been crying?" he asked. "Nah," Max said. "There was this water dripping from the tunnel roof. But you said don't move, right? Well, I was just being obedient." By the time we got on the next train, with all our possessions, we had been traveling for an hour, but we had managed to go only one stop. During the ride, I got hungry. I pulled out one of my sandwiches. With the jelly soaked through the bread, it looked like a limp scab. Horse, envious, complained he was getting hungry. "Eat some of your canned beans," I suggested. He got out one can without ripping his pocket too badly. Then his face took on a mournful look. "What's the matter?" I asked. "Forgot to bring a can opener." Max said, "In the old days, people opened cans with their teeth." "You saying my teeth aren't strong? I'm just talking about history." "You saying I don't know history?" Always kind, I plopped half my sandwich into Horse's hand. He squashed it into his mouth and was quiet for the next 15 minutes. It proved something I'd always believed. The best way to stop arguments is to get people to eat peanut butter sandwiches. They can't talk. Then we became so absorbed in our Marvel family comics, we missed our station. We got to it only by coming back the other way. When we reached street level, the sky was dark. "I knew it," Max announced. "It's going to rain." "Don't worry," Horse said. "New Jersey is a whole other state. It probably won't be raining there." "I brought an umbrella," I said smugly, though I wanted it to sound helpful. As we marched down 168th Street, heading for the George Washington Bridge, we looked like European war refugees. Every few paces, Horse cried, "Hold it!" and adjusted his arms around his mattress. Each time we paused, Max pulled out his compass, peered at it, then announced, "Heading north." I said, "The bridge goes from east to west." "Maybe the bridge does," Max insisted with a show of his compass. "But guaranteed we are going north." About then, the heel of my left foot, encased in a heavy rubber boot over an earth-crushing Buster Brown shoe, started to get sore. Things weren't going as I had hoped. Cheerfully, I tried to ignore the pain. The closer we drew to the bridge, the more immense it seemed, and the clouds had become so thick you couldn't see the top or the far side. Max eyed the bridge with deep suspicion. "I'm not so sure we should go," he said. "Why?" "Maybe it doesn't have another side." We looked at him. "No, seriously," Max explained. "They could have taken the Jersey side away, for repairs." "Cars are going across," I pointed out. "They could be dropping off," he suggested. "You would hear them splash," Horse argued. "I'm going," I said. Trying to look brave, I started off on my own. My bravery didn't last long. The walkway was narrow. When I looked down, I saw only fog. I could feel the bridge tremble and sway. It wasn't long before I was convinced the bridge was about to collapse. Then a ray of hope struck me. Maybe the other guys had chickened out. If they had, I could quit because of them. I glanced back. My heart sank. They were coming. After they caught up, Horse looked me in the eye and said, "If this bridge falls, I'm going to kill you." A quarter of a mile farther across, I gazed around. We were completely fogged in. "I think we're lost," I announced. "What do we do?" Horse whispered. His voice was jagged with panic. That made me feel better. "Don't worry," Max said. "I've got my compass." He pulled it out. "North is that way," he said, pointing in the direction we had been going. Horse said, "You sure?" "A scout compass never lies," Max insisted. "We lied," I reminded him. "Yeah, but this is an official scout compass," Max returned loyally. "Come on," Max said, and marched forward. Horse and I followed. In moments, we crossed a metal bar on the walkway. On one side, a sign proclaimed New York. On the other, it said New Jersey. "Holy smoke," Horse said with reverence as he straddled the bar. "Talk about being tough. We're in 2 states at the same time." It began to rain. Max said, "Maybe it'll keep us clean." "You saying I'm not clean?" Horse shot back. Ever friendly, I put up my umbrella. We went on, Max on one side, Horse on the other, me in the middle, trying to avoid the growing puddles. After a while, Max said, "Would you move the umbrella? Rain is coming down my neck." "We're supposed to be roughing it," I said. "Being in the middle isn't roughing it," Horse reminded me. I folded the umbrella up so we all could get soaked equally.